Hey, what's up guys, it's Nostalgia, and this is my review of the new Deacon album, Mystic Familiar. Deacon is an electronic producer and composer from Baltimore, Maryland, USA. Mystic Familiar is his 5th solo studio album, and it's the first album he's released in 5 years. The album opens up with a track titled Become a Mountain. This song begins with this bouncy and hectic piano, as Deacon's soft, almost whispered vocals soon kick in. As the song progresses, new layers are added to the piano, and it begins to create a wall of sound. Deacon's voice remains quite hushed and low in the mix, yet it still manages to seep through all the noise and shine bright. In the last minute and a half of the song, a lot of these layers that have slowly been building up begin to pile up, and they conclude the song with this powerful, transcending cacophony of beautiful noise. The second track, Hypnagogic, is a nice little instrumental which calms the mood after the explosiveness of the previous track. The third track, titled Sat by a Tree, begins with these pulsating guitars, and they soon get complemented by this hectic drum beat. Then before you know it, these ethereal synths come in and the track explodes in every direction. Deacon's vocals are covered in effects, giving it a sort of nasally and unique tone, and the melody of the vocals alone is quite fun and catchy. The song sounds like it's just soaring around you in every direction, and is easily one of the highlights on the album for me. The next track, Wideeyed, is the opening movement to a 4-piece track titled ARP, which sits snugly in the middle of the track list. The song begins with an industrial-like beat, and these twinkling, glitchy robotic sounds which dance among the beat. Over the short duration of this cut, all the separate small layers of the track build up and expand much like we heard on the previous songs. Deacon's vocals once again join in quite low in the mix, and they more so play the role of just one of the many layers rather than the main driving force behind the track. The second part of the ARP series, Float Away, begins where the previous track left off. It builds up more and more layers onto the previous segment of the track, be it Deacon's soft, faint vocals hidden among the depths of the mix, or these twinkling glockenspiel sounding synths that decorate the track. Every single sound on this track is crucial in building up the universe it exists in. The third part of the ARP series, Far From Shore, begins with a hectic, wailing saxophone solo that almost sounds like it's straight from a Colin Stetson cut, and over time the track gets clouded in these dark, looming, almost ethereal synths, as well as this quiet, cruising drum beat. Deacon's vocals are covered in so much distortion and reverb that they begin to sound like they're just one of the synths. The end of the track builds up with even more hectic energy and layers, and it begins to sound like the music is just being created around you, and is beginning to consume you from all angles. An absolute euphoric climax to the song. The final movement of the ARP series, titled Any Moment, is just the closer to the track as the synths begin to fall asleep, but not without putting up a fight, and Deacon's voice echoes in every direction. This really doesn't seem like a separate entity to the previous segment of this series of songs, so I'm not sure why it's separated on a tracklist, but that's not really a big deal, it's just me nitpicking. The next track on this album, Weeping Birch, starts with these quiet but restless synths serenading your ears, while these louder, more ethereal synths wail in the background, transporting you into the beauty of this track. As more and more synths and layers get added, all these synths seem to almost converse with one another as they bounce off one another and complement each other. The track then slows down and gets lifted straight back up with these cymbal drums. The synths start getting more and more powerful as you begin to lose yourself more and more in the track, until it finally slows down and concludes. I think a track like this is almost necessary to calm the mood after a series of songs as wild, and creative, and hectic as the ARP series. The next track, Fell Into the Ocean, begins with a more subtle instrumental than what we've heard before in the album. The song begins with these bouncing synths and twinkles of piano. The instrumental starts growing slowly while Deacon's subtle and soft vocals keep you close. The build-up then concludes with the chorus, on which the vocals bounce back between these feminine backing vocals that only ever sing 2 words at a time, and Deacon's almost spoken word statements. I think this is a very fun and catchy moment on the album, which is complemented by these synths that almost feel like they're swaying from side to side. As the track goes on, these ominous brassy synths start to creep up on the song, keeping the listener on edge only to be replaced with these ethereal hymn-like vocals in the background of the mix, as the song kicks back into the chorus. After the second chorus, the song kind of strips itself back for about a minute until the aforementioned brassy synths come back to conclude the track. This might very well be the most accessible track on the album, but it's easily a standout for me. The second last track, titled My Friend, begins with these layered vocals that travel up and down in almost a wave pattern before the groovy bass-like synths kick in, giving the track a bit of energy. Deacon's vocals then kick in and they sound more natural than we've previously heard in this album. There seems to be little to no effects on them at first, that is until the song begins to explode just before the 2-minute mark and the vocals get more and more distorted. The synths in this track sound like they're just racing against each other, and they just keep getting more and more intense before the track cuts out and it goes back to Deacon's vocals complemented by these high-pitched backing vocals. The synths, however, begin twinkling through again, almost as if to make sure that you don't forget they're there, and before long the song kicks into action again as it reaches its climax. The closing track, Bumblebee Crown King, is right in your face from the get-go, as it begins with these distorted synths that drag on in ambience for the duration of this track, and this pulsating, aggressive bass drum that slowly expands into a fully fledged drum beat that gets louder and louder and more complex, and all you can do is listen and wait for when the song inevitably explodes. There's some nice guitar-like twinkles there too, just to keep things interesting while you're sitting on the edge of your seat anticipating where the song might go. More and more synths get slowly added, and you soon begin to barely notice the drums were even there as the track is building itself around you and it's holding your hand and taking you along on a journey. As the track and the album concludes, the song places you back down exactly where you were right before and waves goodbye to you with these last twinkles of synth. Overall, I think this is a brilliant album and a great comeback for Deacon after 5 years with no studio album. Mystic Familiar is an incredibly mesmerizing experience as Deacon encapsulates his quite pleasant, delicate and fun vocals in these incredibly chaotic and otherworldly soundscapes that really bring these songs to another realm of existence and take you along for the ride. I'm absolutely loving this album, and if there's one album from 2020 that I absolutely have to recommend you listen to, it's this one right here. So that being said, my final grade for the album is 8 out of 10. So that's all for the video. Thank you all for watching this review of the new Dan Deacon album. What did you guys think of the album? Let me know if you agree with my opinions, and if you don't agree, make sure to also let me know and call me an idiot, whatever you want. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video. It would mean a lot as I want to keep making more reviews like this and could use as much support as I can possibly get. Anyway, until next time, I'm Nostalgia, and this was my music review. Bye bye.